Kelly.
Actually, Jonathan, right there.
That's funny.
Oh,
I don't know.
The reason we had, my wife said she saw an armadillo.
Oh, if he's on P and Z, it's probably, there might be somebody newer that I
It was like,
noticed,
we had to
but
take
not,
Mark's truck because he had.
don't remember.
With the possum, remember we took the possum?
yeah.
Okay.
He was just kind of like, and off he went. Are we ready to go? Christine, we ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to call the regular city council meeting of Colleyville to order January the 21st, 2020 at 7:34 p.m. We're now in session. Let me call the roll. Councilmember Nakamura.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lindemood.
Here.
Councilmember Wheat.
Here.
Mayor is here. Councilmember Dodson.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Rigney.
Here.
Very good. So Paul Vigiletti from the Catholic Church is going to open in prayer for us tonight, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. We appreciate you coming, Paul. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, and our decisions with impartiality. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect our community. And continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplished, is for the pursuit of truth, for the service of humanity. We pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. We also pray for the agenda set before them today, and give assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Colleyville. We ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I should have said the Good Shepherd Catholic Church, and thank you for coming, Paul. And you're so faithful in everything you're asked to do. I really appreciate it. And you always show up at the Ministerial Alliance meeting, so thank you so much for everything you do in the community. Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
And he's an exceptional singer.
Yeah, great singer, yes.
To hear that sometime.
So I want to welcome everyone to be here, and those that may be watching on the TV. We appreciate that, and thank you. I always say this, we have several items on the agenda tonight that we will vote on, and we'll have public hearings on, and any of those public hearings, you're welcome to speak. There's cards in the back that you can fill out and put your name and address on. We appreciate it if you do, but I will not close a public hearing without asking if everyone has spoken that wishes to speak, so we don't miss anyone. So Thank you. We will now move to agenda item number 2, which we do not need tonight. We just came out of executive session, which we always have just before this meeting.
Bless you, Mike.
But we have no action that we need to take out of executive session, so we're going to go straight to agenda item 3. And this one is announcements, proclamations, and presentations. And then we have the recognition of the featured business of the month. So let us do announcements first, then we'll go to that. So I just want to remind everyone again, I did this last time, that we're looking for our next mayor for a day. So we're giving all the Colleyville residents in grades 2 through 7 that opportunity. It's a lot of fun. If they write a 1 to 2 page essay about what they would do if they were mayor. They get to spend a day with all the city departments doing a lot of fun things. And then they will, one of the meetings in February will actually have the opportunity to preside over the meeting. Typically, they'll have a resolution that they pass that night. It's a lot of fun for them. And they get to have a pizza party while we're in executive session with their friends that they get to invite. They always have a good time at that. So essays are due into this week, the 24th of January.
I have one that's on Glade
Oh.
Road. Huh?
Got one huge
Yeah, it's something
thing.
important.
Happy birthday, George Dodson. It's your birthday
very much.
today.
Okay.
Happy birthday, George.
Thank you.
Thank you. Or
I brought a belt with a lot of leather for George.
There you go.
Gonna take all of it, isn't it? Happy birthday, George.
Thank you.
The Glade Road project will be be sent out for notice for bid this weekend. The bid advertisement will appear in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram for our legal notification. In addition to the official bid document, bidding will also be on CivicCast. We also post them on the following plan rooms in case you want to bid on it: Blue Book, One Team, Dodge Data and Analytics, Construction Connect, which includes iSquarefoot, CMD, CDC, and Bid Clerk. Additionally, the Blue Book One Team Plan Room has a feature where we, as the city, can push it out to other contractors that are on these sites, and also we'll be sending it back out to other contractors that we've used before. So if you're a contractor, look for these bid opportunities, and hopefully we'll get some great bids.
Great. I want to present some good news, some great news, actually. Our sales tax receipts for November were $461,000, which exceeded our budget projection by 11.5% and exceeded last year's collection in November by 6.9%. This is the second month of positive sales tax growth since our new fiscal year began on October 1st. Please continue to shop and eat in Colleyville. It has a direct impact for us and certainly for our businesses. We're happy to see this.
We've got the State of the City coming up. Mayor Newton will present the State of the City on February 6th. The presentation will take place twice that day. The first event will include a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce during a membership luncheon. Later that evening, a public presentation will take place at the Colleyville Center at 6:15 and include information stations provided by all city departments.
I really encourage everyone to come that evening. We'll try to fill you in on what went on in the city in 2019, and you'll have, that evening, you'll have all the time you want to ask questions about anything. So,
Okay, farmer's market. We had farmer's market move back to the plaza at City Hall. And it was canceled this month, but it's going to be the third, sorry, my mind just went blank. It will be held the third Thursday of each month from 3 to 7 until April, when it will then switch to a weekly schedule. So it will be the third Thursday in February is the next time, and it'll be right out here in front in the plaza. So everybody come on out. There's 20 vendors who will sell a variety of things, produce, meats, cheeses, eggs, honey, salsa, and jams. There will be handcrafted items, candles, artwork, wood crafts, and clothes. So if you want to look and see what's there, visit fourseasonsmarkets.com to view the list of vendors that are coming to Colleyville. But get out there. It's going to be easier to get to and more fun.
Well, I've got the most important announcement tonight. Chick-fil-A project is to begin demolition next week. The former Londoner site, soon to be home of Chick-fil-A, is slated for demolition at the end of next week. You may notice activity as the Colleyville Fire Department is conducting training exercises on site. The training activities will include the use of smoke machines and EMS equipment. The actual building demolition will take place later this week, Thursday and Friday.
And hopefully you've all heard that February 21st, the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra is coming to Colleyville, and they're going to be at Colleyville Heritage High School. So we have tickets that are now available in the library. All you need to do is go in. I actually got mine today, as you see. And you just fill out a form, has your name and your address, and they will give you your tickets for your household. So hope to see you all there.
Yeah, this is the first. We hope you come. So now it is my pleasure to recognize the featured business of the month, who is Desserts RX. So if Dorothy Warda and her entourage will join me down there, and Adrian.
Nice. Anything
These are
that
great
has
people.
dessert in it.
Hello.
Hello.
I think it's on. And you brought goodies, I see.
Like, what you got there?
Thank you. Hi. Dorothy.
This is my son, Alex Warda, my daughter, Nina Warda, and our partner, Steven Ensor.
Super. Well, yeah, thank you for coming. Glad to meet all of you. Yeah, nice to meet you. So we're very happy that you're in town. I hear you've been extremely successful. That's even better. So we're really proud of that and proud of you and all of you. Yeah, turn around because there's TV cameras and people actually
There
watch.
you go. Good to see
So we want them to
those
see.
faces.
So we want to give you the little token that shows that you're featured business of the month. And I want to let Adrian say a few words, and we'll let you guys talk a little bit.
So it has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and your family and the wonderful organic desserts that you've brought to the community. I think your concept is so interesting and so wonderful, and we're just thrilled that you were able to locate here in Colleyville. I've tried many of the different treats that you all offer, and they're fantastic. And we just want to say thank you to you all for investing here in Colleyville and making this your home for your business. And I know you have great plans to grow. And for those that are not familiar, you're located over off of Precinct Line in the former Trio Cafe space. But we'll give you the microphone here to give you an opportunity to share a bit about your business and where you're located and what types of desserts you offer.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We are at 8300 Precinct Line Road in Suite 104. Soon we will be opening an organic coffee house at 62 Main Street, Suite 100. So we are very, very happy about that. Actually, it's been my dream for the last 7 years. And we have been working on this very hard. We are not just about desserts. We really are about bringing quality and raising awareness about the importance of how to eat healthy and making it available. So like my children, they are actually certified plant-based chefs and raw food chefs. They are also integrative nutrition health coaches. So it's been a family effort, and I absolutely love Colleyville. We have purchased 62 Main Street 3 years ago. And we were trying to open throughout the years, but we couldn't. So now we have Steven, who recognized the value of the desserts, and we decided to partner. So we are beyond happy. We are very grateful to him. And I cannot wait to have this Desserts RX at Main Street and our storefront on Precinct Line. Absolutely love Colleyville, and this is great. This is good for everyone. This is organic and plant-based, and we actually have some samples that I would love to share with you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So we do thank you so very much. It's a great honor, and we greatly appreciate this. Thank you.
We thank you for being here. And Stephen, did you want to say anything? Okay.
For those that are interested in learning more, I think you have a pretty active social media presence. So following, is it Desserts RX on Facebook that you can look for? It's a great way to find out more information and keep in touch with everything that's happening over there. But wanted to make sure people knew about that for you.
I was talking to Adrian before we started, and I said, is she going to mention anything about 62 Main? I hope she does. So I'm glad you did. Told everybody what your plans are, because believe me, I get asked about that all the time, so it's great. And I knew this was your dream for years now, so I'm really pleased that you're going to be able to do this.
Thank you, and we will be roasting our own coffee. I mean, this will be as organic as it gets. I mean, this is really what this city needs and people need, and we are beyond thrilled to be able to make this happen.
Healthy desserts. Healthy, delicious desserts, right? Very good. Yeah, it's a perfect location for that, right by the new plaza.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be great. Be great, yeah. So you want to pass some good
Can
stuff out?
Can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, yeah. We need to get a picture.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
Cute
give me
there.
pass them down.
And he loves desserts.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all are so sweet. Oh my gosh.
No matter how old you get, mom's the boss.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla.
Cashew base, so if anybody has allergic to cashew, almonds.
I don't. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, how fun. Thank you so much. They are gorgeous, yes.
I got one. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, these.
And congratulations.
So fun. I haven't, no.
It's exciting for you.
You've been doing
Thank
good.
you.
Good.
They are beautiful.
Reagan's,
Yes.
Reagan's like, gotta get back down there and get some more of those.
Thank you so much. Oh, no,
Yeah,
doubt.
we love them.
What is
No doubt.
Harper comes home from college and she's just,
That is,
I got it, yeah.
we gotta get back down there and see you guys.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I gotta bring
Very much.
Good to see you.
Good luck.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And appreciate y'all bringing those out for Von Husband's event. That was very kind of you.
This one says blueberry. What does that
It
one
meant
say?
a lot to the whole family.
Thank you.
You just blew.
Thank you.
Oh, blue matcha.
Tasty.
Cool.
And you freeze them, you stick them in your mouth.
Oh, man.
George,
That's right.
thank you.
And they sell them in a
If I only had a heart.
like that. It's like a chewy candy.
Yeah, I'll make a song.
This with a hard shell over the top. Yeah, but it's in a.
Sure, I'd love to have one.
Thank you very much.
It's really cool.
Yes,
Fun little bite. That's cool.
Thank you.
thank you.
And you'll be.
I do.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, I gotta say, you just raised the bar for all the businesses of the month by bringing us dessert.
Right.
Now our expectations have gone up.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Put a crown or some cream.
Fun.
Very fun.
Okay, we'll now move to agenda item 4, which is the consent resolution. I didn't see that picture before. That's pretty.
Very.
So this is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4462, a resolution approving city council action under consent items at the regular city council meeting of January 21, 2020. Whereas city council has taken action on certain items on the agenda under consent items, now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the agenda decisions approved by city council action under consent items as follows are hereby adopted. A, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 7, 2019. B, approval of an interlocal agreement with Tarrant County for the rehabilitation of Bogart Drive, Cherry Lane, Jim Mitchell Trail East, Jim Mitchell Trail West, Lloyd Circle, Maranatha Court, Rose Street, and Thompson Terrace, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. C, approval of an amendment to the professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc., amending the design parameters of the John McCain at Westcoat Roundabout project to include extending the trail limits on John McCain Road, culvert extension and safety improvements, enclosed storm drain system, lighting plan, and traffic control sheets in an amount not to exceed $65,900 and authorizing the city manager to execute the amendment. And it is so resolved. Just one comment, under item B, where it says Jim Mitchell East, there's a S missing from the east. Okay, right?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ray Silva Reyes, Director of Public Works. I'll be speaking on the next two items. Item 4B, staff is seeking approval to enter into an interlocal agreement with Tarrant County for the roads that you talked about, that you noticed. And this interlocal agreement will take place of the 2020 HMAC that we typically bid out at this time. We've been working very well with the Tarrant County, and they had room in their schedule to squeeze these roads in. And so we thought it'd be a good idea to partner up with them one more time and get these roads done. We're looking to start these in late February, at least Thompson Terrace, and the rest in March.
Super.
We'll get them knocked out pretty quick, and staff recommends approval. Okay. For the next one, item 4C, staff is seeking approval for an amendment for a professional service agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates for the purpose of addressing supplemental designs. This is in supplementing designing for the mini roundabout that we're doing at John McCain and Westcoat. We noticed a couple months ago there was the guardrail at the over the creek was damaged, and we were going to try to tackle that with an engineering design, but then realized that we were going to do the John McCain Trail as well over that, and we needed to extend the culvert, so we decided to wrap this all up into one project and attach it to the mini roundabout. Because the proposed amendment is comprised of basic services in the amount of $45,900, and then an hourly/reimbursable service in the amount of $20,000, which comes out to the $65,900 for the total project. Staff recommends approval.
Super. Anyone have any questions for Ray?
No.
The trail extension that it talks about in that item, could you go back one slide? I think it's that red area, the south of John McCain, that's the trail extension. The trail's going to be extended on down
Yes,
to the
this is
So-
west all
Yeah,
the
so
way.
this is part of we have another firm doing the actual trail design.
Okay,
But since the proximity of what we were doing with the guardrail improvements
Yeah.
and the design, it just made
Okay.
sense to knock it all into one project and get it designed.
okay,
Therefore,
okay, very good. If there's no other questions, I'm going to open a public hearing.
Oh, just one quick question.
yes, sir.
So the trail itself will be designed by another firm then?
Yes, we gave that firm this portion right here, the overall trail design. But as we were working with Kimley Horn and they had to do some storm drainage improvements already for the mini roundabout, we just took that off the other consultants and save that money there if we need to tap into it for later.
Okay.
Or if not, we'll get a credit back from that
Good.
consultant as well.
Okay, good.
So Ray, when you bid the trail design, are you going to bid this section as part of the overall package, or are you going to bid this portion with the roundabout design?
This portion will be bid with the roundabout to get it all completed.
Okay.
Very good.
Will
Go
the trail extend on the southwest side towards Westmont? So there's a continuous, someone's riding their bike right here, see where it's curved?
Yeah, so it will extend from the, right as John McCain bends to the north on the west side as well, and all the way back to
Okay.
the east as well, and then it will connect to the other side of Westcoat on the west side.
And there is trail there already,
Oh,
all
there-
along
there
West,
is? It just-
yeah,
I
all
can't
along West Coast.
see.
It's
It
hard to
looks like
tell,
it's
but
curved
yeah,
there. Okay.
that part's already finished.
So
Okay,
just
great.
connect to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to connect to that part.
Great.
Very good. If there's no other questions, I'm going to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open. Have any cards?
No, sir.
Have no cards. Anyone wish to speak on this item that's in the audience? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So a motion is in order.
I'll move to approve Resolution R-20-4462.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Kelly and a second by Councilmember Rigney. Would you open the vote, please? You may show it when you have it. That motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved.
Mr. Mayor, just a moment to thank Commissioner Fickus and the county for working with us on these road projects. The city taxpayers save a substantial amount by partnering with the county, and we appreciate their partnership.
Yes, we do. They do a great job.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item 5, and this is not for action, but it's our monthly financial report. Got good news.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm Kyle Lester, Finance Director, and I've just got a brief update on the monthly financial report for December of 2019, the last month of the decade. And the last month of our first quarter, so we're just into our second quarter after this. Last time we talked, we mentioned that we would expect the general fund to have a significant surplus in this month as we receive a lot of our property taxes and our first sales tax, and that's what we've seen. We have a surplus of about $1.47 million. Again, that's really driven by revenue. Property taxes and sales taxes, as I'll get into in just a moment. So if we highlight our property taxes, we've received about 45% of them in December, which is about the same percentage we saw in the previous fiscal year. So the amount in blue there, $6.786 million for FY20 is what we've collected, and we expect to collect another $8.3 million probably in the next 2 months, mostly within January, I would expect. Now, anytime we mention taxes, I do like to sort of remind everyone, if you do the math there for FY20 and FY19 and compare that, you'll notice that we're anticipating receiving about $266,000 more in property taxes. Just as a reminder, we set a target of adopting what used to be the effective tax rate, now is called the no new tax rate, meaning basically any increase in revenue that we receive is from properties that did not exist in the previous year. So tax bills, at least from the city standpoint, from a property that existed in both of those years should remain static. And as we get into our budget discussions in the next several months, that'll certainly be a talking point there that we'll stick on.
So just an example of that would be a vacant lot that a structure was built on.
Yes, sir.
So the property always had a tax bill, but an improvement came about that was new and thus added revenue.
Yes, sir. Or a brand-new structure that was built as well.
Yes.
As Councilmember Dodson mentioned, sales tax is starting off very strong this year. The October collection, the first one we got, was the strongest that we had really ever seen. Through November, we're still seeing about a 7% increase on the year. That translates to about $80,000 so far. So it's a nice little cushion that we're seeing just for the first 2 months. If you look at the graph to the right, and I apologize, the lettering is a little too scrunched there, but I do have some comparisons for cities in our area, North Richland Hills, Hearst, South Lake, all the cities in Texas, and then the last blue bar would be all receipts for the state of Texas. We're seeing increases of varying degrees across all of those sort of benchmarks. And so we're not unique here, and we'll certainly keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we'll keep seeing our increases. I'll move on to the utility fund, and as with the last couple of months, it's in a much more positive position that we saw in FY19. We're at a year-to-date surplus right now of about $1.8 million. We do budget for this fund to be a break-even fund, and so as the year wears on, we do anticipate that coming down significantly, but currently we are seeing a large surplus there. And the final update I have for you tonight is our drainage fund, which is probably the most predictable and easiest to go through here. Revenues and expenses are very predictable from month to month. And so you can see that we're in the same neighborhood of the surplus that we had in the previous year. Last year we saw about a surplus of $105,000. As of December, right now we're about $92,000. So very similar from that standpoint. And I believe that's all I have for you this evening.
Kyle, I have one comment. If you go back to the utility fund,
Yes, sir.
it appears that our water usage has gone up quite a bit
Yes, sir, it has.
this year, certainly compared to last year. And Mayor Pro Tem Lindemood put an article out mentioning the fact that we get our sewer rates based on water usage for December, January, and February. So if people should watch how much they water, if we've been getting a lot of rains lately.
Yes, sir.
So you may want to turn your sprinklers off during that time, just as a comment.
Correct.
Very good. Could you go back to the very first slide?
Absolutely.
That one, yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna, the red isn't signified, it's FY19, right? The red bar?
I'm sorry. And it appears in a lot of these slides, when I translate them from what I have to up there, things get
Yeah.
cut off. I'll watch for that next time.
Yeah,
The
just-
red is the 5-year average.
Oh, okay, on this one, the red's 5-year
Yes,
average.
yes.
Okay. On some of them, that gray is, right?
Gray is what we budgeted for it to be, what we anticipate.
Oh, but, okay,
And so comparing that to the
Yeah.
blue bar, we can kind of see how on or how
yeah.
off.
So there are, I just wanted to point that out to people that may have seen that and caught the, wasn't, because this was the first slide. Go forward a couple. Make sure I read something right. Again? Okay, yeah, on this one, the 5-year average is gray and the FY19 is red, right?
Okay.
So anyway, it's no big deal, but
Yeah.
if those are consistent, it'd be easy.
It should be
Yes,
consistent.
sir.
Yeah,
I will, I'll go back and make sure they're.
okay, great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. No, anybody has any other questions?
No.
All good news.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, we are blessed. Okay, we'll move to agenda item 6A. 6A is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2107, consideration of a zoning change from agricultural to R40 single-family residential on tracks 2F3 and 2F5, abstract 1692, in the Joseph White Survey located at 704 Shelton Drive, case ZC 19-020.
Thank you. Ben Briner, Director of Community Development. As you stated, this is second reading and decision for change of zoning request from our ag district, agricultural, to our R40, single-family residential district, and on property located at 704 Shelton Drive. Here's an aerial photo of the site. Again, the intent on this is to rezone and plat the property to get it ready for new construction on the property. That's an older house that is anticipated to be removed and redeveloped with a new single-family home. It is currently zoned agricultural. In order to plat the property, it does require compliance with an appropriate zoning district. Our agricultural district requires 3 acres for a minimum lot size, and this is just about 1 acre, and so does not comply with that. The R40 would satisfy that requirement, and we feel it's consistent with the surrounding area. You can see quite a bit of R40 property in the surrounding areas. It is designated for residential use on our future land use map. And this is another image of the property from our pictometry program. Again, that home is expected to be removed for a new home to be built on the property. Here are the minimum standards for the R40 district. It is a 40,000 square foot minimum lot size. The proposed lot is just over that. And then your minimum lot width and lot depth at 150 feet. Again, it will comply with both of those dimensions. And any new construction will have to comply with the required building line setbacks, as well as maximum lot coverage and maximum impervious coverage. Here's the zoning exhibit, again, for a single property. It is not proposing to subdivide the lot. And then an additional exhibit identifying the tree location as well as the topography for the site. We did send our notices out to all properties within 500 feet, and we did not receive any response back one way or the other for this. Staff does recommend approval, as does the Planning and Zoning Commission. With that, I can answer any questions.
Very good. Sounds pretty straightforward. I noticed in the, we talked about this last time, in the southern part of the lot on the west side, there was a little notch out, and that's
Yes.
actually how the lot is, right?
Yes.
Because of the drive?
Yeah, you
old
can
drive.
see this does identify where the current drive is, and sometime in the past, they purchased that little bit.
Yeah.
So this represents that.
So there is a plat, though, for this property? or
We're going
not?
through the plating process.
Oh,
As a
okay.
single lot plat, it's a staff approval.
Okay,
So this is really that first step in order for us to then
okay.
approve the plat. and
I
file the
wanted to
plat.
just get in my mind straight whether we had one or didn't.
Yes,
That's all.
so they have made application, and we are processing that,
Okay.
but it is staff approval.
In fact, they are zoning because they have to plat.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
Before we can issue a building permit, is
Right.
for a duly recorded lot of record.
Any other questions for Ben?
Does that that considers the drainage and all that? When does that come into play?
That will actually the details will come with the proposed new home construction. So as the
Okay.
permit is submitted for the new construction, they will have to submit detailed drainage plans, and our
Okay.
city engineer's office will review that to make sure it
Okay.
complies with our ordinances.
Okay. Because sometimes we require that, don't we, for zoning?
Yeah, when we have multiple lots, they have to address that because we know, a lot of times they'll include a street as well as other utilities and a lot more work to prepare the lots. And so we require it on those larger projects, the multi-lot subdivisions. On a single lot, we
I
can.
thought
wait
we
for-
also required it if the layout of the property was quite sloped and so forth. or
Well, in
only-
in this particular case, the zoning would be standalone, so they could rezone it and continue to occupy the existing structure and not change anything. It's when they come in to talk about tearing down the existing structure and/or altering the lot that they then would go through the review. And so at that time, engineering would do a full review. In the past, we have had some cases where the applicant, as part of their submittal, had information that also included how they either wish to divide the lot or how they wish to redevelop it, and in that case, we looked at it.
That's why I thought,
Yeah.
that it hasn't been, because I remember us looking at some single lots
Sure.
Yes.
because of slopes and everything.
Yeah, and I was going to say.
This looks fairly flat.
Yeah, this land is pretty flat. This is a topo map here, and so no neighbors have complained about
Right.
drainage. I'm
No,
not
I
aware of
understand.
any. Yeah.
It's probably fine. I just want to get that clear in my mind, that's all.
Any other question for Ben?
No.
I'm going to open a public hearing then. Public hearing is open. And we have a card, Kathy Hadley.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, to represent myself. Originally, I did support this, but the more I thought about it, the more concern I had. And I drove that neighborhood today, and I pulled up in two people's driveway to talk to them to let them know, hey, this is going to be on the agenda tonight. Y'all need to go. Nobody came to the door. That is an older area. I don't know when that old home was actually built. I understand them wanting to change it, but I don't understand. Once the ag is changed to R40, that opens the door for going in and changing other neighborhoods. If you want to buy a house and tear it down and then have the city council change it so you can do something else to that land, they've got prime example. Why can't they just tear down the little house and build on that ag land designation? I don't like them changing that. That just opens the door to change my neighborhood one day, and I don't want that to happen. So, I'm sorry, I am not in favor of this. I don't see why they just can't go ahead and leave it ag and leave the other neighbors that have the large lots and large, lovely homes. Leave it. People moved out there when it was ag. They knew it was ag. Leave it ag, my opinion. And I don't want this to open up the door for any more neighborhoods to be changed. You've done it once, then that means you can do it again, and that really concerns me. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Let me try to answer your question. So they do wanted to build a new home, and so they have to plat to do that, which is appropriate. And the size is a little over an acre, and so according to our current ordinances, it can't be rezoned to ag because that would require 3 acres. And so it does fit R40, which is a 1 acre lot, which is what it has been for years and years. So it's not really, it's kind of a quirk of our ordinances that have places of stipulations on it. Don't think anything else will happen other than a new home being built there. So that is the technical answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
and speak.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But I can talk more to you about it later if you want to. Thanks. Have no other cards. Anyone else in the audience like to speak on this item? I see no one indicating that, so I want to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed.
I move acceptance of ordinance O-20-2107.
I second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Dodson, a second by Councilmember Nakamura. Would you open the vote, please? You may show it when it's ready. That motion is approved, therefore the ordinance is approved. So we'll move to agenda item 6B. This is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2108, consideration of an amendment to the PUDR planned unit development residential zoning district regarding driveways and private walkways for the Carmel Place Estates subdivision, being lots 1 through 9 and lots 10X, 11X, and 12X, Block 1, Carmel Place Estates, located at 4800 through 4920 Carmel Place, case ZC 19-021.
Thank you. So this is a request to amend the existing PUDR ordinance. It will apply to all lots within this zoning district, which are the lots on the east side of Carmel, just off of Glade Road on the south side. Here's an aerial photo of the subdivision where this would apply to. And the current zoning, as stated, is PUDR, Planned Unit Development Residential. It is designated for residential use on our future land use map. This subdivision has been developed for several years. We have seen some activity recently as far as building new homes on several of the lots so far. One of the requests has been for a specific finish in regards to the driveways and the sidewalks. And so that's what this request is about. This is the zoning exhibit. So again, this would apply to all of the residential lots within this subdivision, which is really the lots on the the west side of the street. And specifically, the request is to allow for a salt finish. And this is a photo of what that finish looks like. It's essentially, once they pour the concrete and smooth it, they throw a bunch of rock salt onto the surface, and then they let it dissolve, either the concrete itself or put some water right on top. And then it leaves these little pock marks or little holes on the top, on the surface. And so it is a desirable finish, apparently. They've had several potential homeowners request for this finish. The existing CCNRs, covenants and restrictions for the neighborhood, does identify salt finish as an appropriate finish. However, the existing PUD language is very specific, and it only allows for a washed aggregate or a stamped finished concrete. And so this amendment would be adding the salt finish as another option to the concrete. We did send our notices out to all properties within 500 feet, and we did not receive any responses back one way or the other for this. Staff does recommend approval. We feel that this is an appropriate amendment, and it is an attractive-looking finish. And Planning Zoning Commission also recommends approval.
Okay. So I assume the CCNRs have been changed since this zoning went into place.
I don't know the answer to that. This is what was provided to us by the builder who made the application for this change. So whether this is original or an amendment, it is, we're assuming the existing CCNRs for this.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that up, just for the council's sake, this is planned unit development zoning, and it's the council puts whatever restrictions in there they want to make sure the development is built according to the vision of the city. And so this is a case where we put specific things in there that were in the CCRs. I think the CCRs have probably been changed, so they're coming back and changing the ordinance to match it. The other thing we've done at times is kind of require those CCNR to be attached, so any other changes would have to come to us. Yes.
And Mayor, this emphasizes why it's important to include things that are of concern in the actual ordinance.
Yeah.
Not just relying upon the CCNRs, because, but for that being in the ordinance, they wouldn't have had to come back.
Exactly, that's why I wanted to bring this up.
So this may not be a good example, but
Yeah.
it shows why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
I do have a question also. On the other side of the street, I know it's actually a different PUD. Does it have the same language? I mean, does that PUD also need to be updated, or?
It does not. If you recall,
different.
and let me go back to the zoning map, they received approval of R30, and so they do not have the same conditions.
Oh, okay.
It's not a
It's not a
PUD.
PUD, okay.
Right,
got
it's
it.
not a PUD zoning for those lots.
Yeah.
They were to enter the same HOA, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
but, yeah, there's also no street connected, there's no sidewalk on the east side of Carmel, because that's,
Actually, I think
Right.
there is.
the other is, because they get access off Carmel, don't they?
But
Yes,
they
I'm
had
sorry, that's
They had a
correct.
problem,
They
they
had
had a
agreed,
problem
though,
of
that they would
access.
join the HOA.
Yes, they did, right.
But just this PUD, I mean, the PUD doesn't have to be updated, it doesn't apply on that side of the street. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it was interesting question. So they're part of the same HOA, those CCNRs, is that an HOA document?
Yes, that's right.
So it would apply,
So it would apply.
yes, if they joined it as they
Yeah,
represented.
yeah, but they have yet to do that, maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, it's interesting intricacy of how this works. It's worth recognizing. Okay. Any other question for Ben?
No.
Not, I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. We have any cards?
Yes.
Yeah. Kathy Hadley, did you want to speak on this? No, okay.
Oh, 7B, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, wait, it's the wrong one. Have no other cards. Anyone else wish to speak on this item that's in the audience? I see no one indicating, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed, the motion is in order.
I'll move to approve ordinance O-20-2108.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Weed, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood. You open the vote, vote's open. May show it when you have it. The motion is approved, the ordinance is approved. We'll now move to Agenda 7A. And this is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4453, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, calling a general election for May 2nd, 2020 for the purpose of electing city council members to place 3 and place 4 and authorizing a joint election agreement and contract for election services with Tarrant County Elections Administration. Whereas the City of Colleyville, Texas desires to conduct a general election as set forth by the City of Colleyville Charter and Texas Election Code, Section 41001, to be held on Saturday, May the 2nd, 2020, at which time the voters will elect city council members to place 3 and place 4, including the conduct of early voting. And whereas all statutory and constitutional requirements for the passage of this resolution have been adhered to, including but not limited to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that all matters stated here and above are found to be true and correct and are incorporated herein by reference as if copied in their entirety. Section 2, that a general election is hereby called to elect city council members to place 3 and place 4 to serve until their successors are duly elected and qualified. Such election shall be held at Colleyville City Hall, 100 Main Street, 2nd floor, Colleyville, Texas, on Saturday, May the 2nd, 2020, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That if a runoff election is necessary, it shall be held in compliance with the Texas Election Code and requirements of the City of Colleyville Charter. Section 4, that qualified persons for city council may file as candidates by filing applications in the office of the city secretary, 100 Main Street, Colleyville, Texas, Wednesday, January 15, 2020 through Friday, February the 14th, 2020, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Section 5, that Hyder Garcia, Elections Administrator, or his successor, 2700 Premier Street, Fort Worth, Texas 76111, is hereby appointed as early voting clerk and may appoint additional deputy early voting clerks as necessary to properly conduct the election. Applications for ballot by mail must be received by mail no later than the close of business on Tuesday, April 21, 2020. Mailing address, Tarrant County Elections. Attention, Nathan Neblett, early voting clerk, or his successor, P.O. Box 961011, Fort Worth, Texas 76161-0011. Section 6, that early voting shall be conducted at Tarrant County's main early voting location, Tarrant County Election Center, 2700 Premier Street, Fort Worth, Texas 76111, Colleyville City Hall, 100 Main Street, training room, second floor, and branch offices for early voting by personal appearance shall also be established as outlined in the election agreement with Tarrant County Elections Administration. Section 7, that early voting shall begin on Monday, April the 20th, 2020, and shall end Tuesday, April the 28th, 2020, and the dates and times shall be as set forth below. April the 20th through 24, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., April the 25th, Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. April the 26th, Sunday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. April the 27th through the 28th, Monday through Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Section 8, that Tarrant County's voting equipment shall be employed for the regular municipal election, including early voting, herein ordered in compliance with the provisions of Chapter 121 of the Texas Election Code as amended. Section 9, that Tarrant County Elections Administration will assume the responsibility for the election officers and the early voting ballot board in accordance with the provisions of the election agreement for the conduct of the election on the aforesaid election date, and the mayor shall execute such election agreement on behalf of the city. Section 10, that the election shall be conducted according to the election laws of the state of Texas and requirements of the charter of the city of Colleyville, and it is so ordered. Okay. Long resolution.
Can you read that again?
Sure. They had a resolution.
Just kidding. Don't do it.
I had a question on page 2.
Did you want to speak to this? Or do you want me to, just? Okay.
Mayor and Council, Christine Levincy, Secretary. The resolution that you just read, Mayor, is in compliance with the city charter and state election law, which outlines that we will contract with Tarrant County for the conduct of our local election. At this time, it is believed that that will be a joint election with other cities and school districts. Our contracts will not be available until after the primaries in February.
Okay, so as you know, I have questions, and I want to generate some conversation here. These things tend to always get passed. I don't know if we've really talked about these in the past. I just wanted the council to understand and know what we're doing. So this is a city election. This city controls city elections. And so in this case, this resolution says we're contracting out the conduction of that election to the Tarrant County, basically is what it says. And so what does that mean? Well, the Hyder Garcia, Elections Administrator, is going to appoint early voting clerks, et cetera. So the people that work the election is going to be appointed by the county, not the city. Early voting, it's interesting, Section 6, you can answer this, Christine. Early voting shall be conducted at Tarrant County's main early voting location, that's in Fort Worth. Is that where the mail-in ballots go?
Yes, it is, but they also conduct early voting
So
for all elections.
somebody
at that
can
location.
walk in the door there and do it?
Yes, they can. In
And-
addition to that, and those, and the city hall location listed, as soon as these contracts are complete following the primaries, there will be other early voting locations in the area cities, Arlington, Southlake, Keller. It'll be dependent on the cities who are part of the joint contract for elections.
Yeah, so you mentioned something I was going to bring up next. So there's a contract we signed, and it mentions it here. I haven't seen it. Do we have that contract?
We will not have that until
Okay.
after the primaries have finished and they've,
Oh,
Tarrant
really?
County executes the local election contracts.
You're gonna really not like me for this, but I really have a problem voting on something we haven't seen.
And it is per the election code. We have a date of February 16th
Yeah.
to pass this resolution
Right.
calling the election. So it can be changed if you receive the contract and there's something that you don't like, or the council wants to visit about further
Yeah.
in that contract, but we still have to call the election for the dates
Yeah,
stated.
well, yeah, so what my problem is, this requires me as mayor, if, as written, it requires me as mayor, if we vote to approve this, I have to sign that contract, so it's not as easy as I see something I don't like, I have to sign it if we approve it as is. So be thinking about, give us an out for that one.
Well, when will the contract be available?
Well, it's not till after the primary.
Yeah, we won't see it.
Yeah, so that's one. So that's why I want to just talk about this. We recognize what we're doing here.
Well, the other thing is, with this, there's no voting in the precincts, right?
Currently, yes, that is correct, Councilmember Dotson. We have gone to, the state is going to, and we tried this in November, to what we're referring to as hub voting locations. And really, it is to the, I have to say personally, for the years that I've overseen early voting and voting at City Hall, in both the primaries and our own local election, people get confused as to where they have to be.
Oh, sure.
Tarrant County
All the
has-
time.
Right, Tarrant County has always sent 2 people over to sit in our lobby from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Election Day to be able to check voter locations and tell people where to go.
Yeah, I've
In
seen them
addition,
sitting down there, yeah,
Yes, and staff fields, tons of calls.
sure.
So this will eliminate some of that and bring some consistency to where to vote.
Understand.
Okay, now, so this is a topic I wanted to talk about too. So we're now talking about making City Hall primary voting location at the actual election day and for other primary voting times.
That's correct.
And so what is it that contract agreement that does that?
No, the contract is solely for the conduct of our election, of the general election.
How,
So to utilize our facility for early voting
Yeah.
and for an election day location, they send an individual sheet asking if we agree to
Okay,
allow
that's-
them to use our facilities.
okay, separate from this,
Correct.
when do they send that?
So I received for the February primaries, I'd have to look, but I received that probably in September.
Okay. Okay, and so the other thing that you and I and city manager talked about, so we're talking about the city election, that's all that we actually control. There's other elections, school board elections, and the county's going to, trying to make all voting locations where you can vote for anything.
Correct.
And in the past, the voting was over at the school, and we're talking about because we will become a primary voting location, it will be here.
Correct.
I'm assuming the school will ask us, can they have their election here? Is that correct?
That is correct. As part of the contract, it also goes out to GCISD and Keller ISD. And in the past, they have participated in that joint election.
Okay, now we're talking about the contract agreement that's mentioned in here.
That's correct.
Okay, so it is in that agreement where we agree to do those other elections here for the schools. In fact, it won't just be GCISD, it'll be any school?
Right, it is a large contract with all of the cities and school districts
Yeah.
and water districts. I think there's one water district that might
Do it,
be
okay.
on that contract.
Okay, so, early voting locations, does it also, like for school, does it also control those, where those will be? I'm trying to get at, as you know,
That is
where
by our mutual agreement
Yeah.
that early voting be conducted at City Hall, which it has always been conducted at.
could the school schools, just as an example, could they create other voting locations?
They can't create it on their own, but
Okay.
if Tarrant County Elections Administration asks them if they have a facility to help provide for early voting,
Yeah.
and they do, then they would agree to that.
Okay,
I'd go one step further. I would say if they requested from the county that they be allowed to be added, the county could and may likely add them. The county may do so reluctantly because they want to create a single voting day, but for early voting, they may, of course.
right. So anyway, clearly I'm talking about this for a reason. I wanted us all to understand or try to figure out how this works, because we've all talked about and questioned, how does that happen? Where are voting located? And there's changes afoot, where the county's wanting to get everything all voted. You can vote for anything, anywhere. And I really talked with Christine a lot, Jerry a lot, struggled a little bit trying to really understand how it all worked. So there's three things going on. There's this resolution where we call election for ourselves. There's agreements that come to us that we saw in September. And there's this fundamental agreement with the county that's referenced in here that, until I read it, I won't completely understand everything. And so that's one thing I'm nervous about. I really would,
Mayor,
we obviously need to pass something tonight.
yes, and I'd like to clarify. I thought that you asked me when I received the agreement for early voting of the primary,
Yeah.
and that is the one I received in September.
Okay.
Okay, I think annually, after we have completed early voting
Mhm.
at this location for our general election,
Yeah.
I believe that they generally send that to me a month after the election,
Okay.
planning for the next year
Next
as an
year,
early
yeah,
voting
okay,
location.
Okay. So, I'll let you wit. Is there any way we can approve this, but that requirement that I sign it, have some kind of out if there's something in there that looks weird? That I would have to bring back to everybody, but,
And while it could be implied into the language of the resolution as it stands, I think in section, I believe 6, section 5, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Section 5 is the section with the contract. We can add to the beginning of that, the standard language we would add on any contract resolution, which provides that, that authorizes the city manager or the city secretary to negotiate and execute an
now
election contract.
I want it to stay me.
Okay, or the mayor, that's fine. That the mayor is hereby authorized to negotiate and execute an agreement with, and then that,
Oh, okay.
and then with.
Okay. And then, it's mentioned at the bottom of 6 and the bottom of
Yeah.
9. So would that have to be modified?
Right. Well, with a motion to approve the resolution, we'll put that the contract is subject to the mayor's negotiation and execution, and then we'll get the
Okay.
wording.
Is that acceptable by everybody?
And that's the
Okay,
standard
that's fine.
language we would use
That
for any
works,
contract.
sure. Okay.
But you could also just rescind it at that time. In other words, if an agreement came in
Sure.
that was problematic, you could just rescind the resolution as well.
That's correct.
Oh, absolutely.
So what I'm saying, because either they're,
Well, yeah, I don't like that.
no, I get it,
Yeah,
but the contract, if it's going to have implications across platforms,
yeah,
once you finish this, even with edits, they're going to proceed with the process that they're handling the entire election.
right.
And so your ability to negotiate terms at that time may be diminished because they're going to say, fine, don't do it, but we're going to send you a bill. Or do it on your own and organize it in the short time you have. But I'm wondering what, because of the number of participants and the enormity of what they're trying to do, I wonder how, what would be negotiable.
Okay. Yeah, me too, but I haven't read it yet. I've read them in the past, but this one's different. Now, so this conversation brings up a point I wanted to be sure everyone appreciated, all the elected officials appreciated. So this changed, I'm not saying it's not good that people be able to vote anywhere, but what it does, the way this works, is really taking out of your control of elections. And so I just wanted, and I'm not saying not to do it, I'm just saying, I want you to realize that's what we're doing.
Yep.
And this is the first time we've had that conversation about it. And and as he just pointed out, we're already at the point where the contracts are done, so it's nearly too late. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Am I saying, did I say anything
Yes.
inappropriate?
No.
Okay.
It's part of a bigger picture where people will be able to vote in any town for the election that's exclusively for this town. So
Right.
that's a major change.
Right.
It is.
But I thought in the past, at least the past handful of years, that during early voting in Tarrant County, I could vote in any of the polling locations in Tarrant County. I know I've done that during
That
early
is-
voting.
That is still correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so it's, I mean, I do hear what you're saying, and I
Yeah.
agree with you that this is a change,
Yeah.
but it seems like maybe it's a subtle change
Well,
from some of the things that have already been happening.
it's subtle and
Each
it
step is
goes
subtle, right? Yeah,
unnoticed.
right,
But there's
right.
some very basic, strong implications of it.
Sure.
And the county's trying to do something good.
Yeah.
But my point is, we're an elected body that actually control what goes on in Colleyville.
Right.
Sure.
But we have not been involved, and I as mayor have not been involved in any conversations with the county in an official capacity to talk about any of these implications. None, zero, zip. And so I'm just drawing attention to this.
No. Yeah.
And again, I'm not necessarily saying it's something that shouldn't be done, but I am saying the world is different. You don't set election judges, you don't determine who runs the election. Who does recounts if recounts have to happen?
Tarrant County Elections Administration.
Not us. Now, why is this a big deal to me? Well, when I was mayor before, and we actually run our own elections, I actually have presided over recounts in the city of Colleyville. That will not happen anymore for anybody sitting in this job or anywhere else. So I just want us to recognize that and acknowledge that.
Yep.
I just think it's my duty to be sure we know what we're doing.
And I hesitate to try and quote the election code,
Yeah.
but you, however, would be allowed to be in the recount if you asked to be present.
Okay.
So there is a board that is convened, and certainly if it was our election,
Yeah.
there are standing rules and election code laws
Yeah.
which address those items.
Okay, and I'm sure you know more about that than I do right now. And by the way, I would like to know that answer. You probably said it correctly, but that's something I just would like to know. So I don't want to belabor this anymore, but I wanted everybody to understand that. So you had some suggested wording.
Correct. We will make this, the contract will be subject to negotiation and execution by the mayor,
Okay.
which gives you the negotiation part of it gives you the ability.
And so here's the way this will work. All I can do is say, okay, if you pass it that way, all I will commit to do is I'll read it, and if there's anything that goes outside or beyond or touches on something I haven't tried to get us to understand and talk about, I'm gonna come back to you and have a discussion somewhere.
Sure.
Okay? All right. I haven't had a public hearing.
No.
Are we, any further
So
questions?
if a motion is made, does that include the amendments?
Yeah, let me do the public
Okay.
hearing, and then we'll come back to that. So public hearing is open.
No cards.
Have no cards. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? I see no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed now. Yeah, I'm suggesting that whoever makes the motion to approve includes the modification that the city attorney is suggesting.
I move to adopt Resolution R-20-4463, including the modifications that the city attorney has suggested.
I second the motion.
Okay, have a motion to approve the resolution with modifications as stated by the city attorney by Councilmember Rigney, and a second to that motion by Councilmember Dodson. Is that a satisfactory motion? Okay, would you open the vote, please, ma'am?
And while we wait.
You talking to Siri down there?
No, that was my Fox News all of a sudden said, hey,
Oh.
president's getting impeached right now.
Figure it out. Okay, this is agenda item 7B, reading and public hearing of resolution R-20-4464. Christine, were there things that we changed earlier that you want me to include in this reading or not?
Mayor, there were changes to the exhibits A and B, however, not to the language of the resolution.
Okay, okay, gotcha. All right, this is reading and public hearing of resolution R-20-4464, a resolution of the city of Colleyville, of the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, repealing and replacing resolution R-18-4219 and designating electioneering locations at and adjacent to the Colleyville City Hall polling place, providing for a map of the electioneering location, providing for electioneering at said locations, and providing an effective date. Whereas Texas Election Code, including section 61.003 and 85.036 therein, have been amended to require a public entity that controls or owns a building used as a polling place to allow electioneering on the premises while polls are open, subject to reasonable regulation. And whereas the term electioneering includes the posting, use, and/or distribution of political signs or literature on public property in connection with an election, and whereas the Colleyville City Hall is regularly used as a polling location for such elections, and whereas the City Council desires to provide reasonable time, place, and manner regulations for electioneering on city-owned public property at or near City Hall, particularly given the fact that the public property adjacent to City Hall is regularly used for various public events and other purposes for which it is imperative that adequate open space, ingress and egress access points, and public parking facilities must be maintained to ensure those areas continue to operate in a safe and effective manner for all members of the public. And whereas in order to further the general health, safety, and welfare of the community, electioneering and/or political signs and literature should not be present outside at the time for voting except for a limited period to erect and remove the signs and not be attached to city improvements and landscaping. And whereas the City Council further finds that the size and density of electioneering signs shall be regulated to preserve the safety and welfare of the general public, and further, that said sign should be located a reasonable distance from public roadways in order to adequately provide for the safety of pedestrians and traffic within and surrounding the City Hall polling location. And whereas the City Council has determined it is in the best interest of the public to adopt an electioneering map identifying the electioneering locations that are a subject of this resolution and the electioneering regulations applicable thereto, copies of which are incorporated herein and attached as Exhibits A and B respectively. Resolutions R-18-4219 is hereby repealed and replaced in its entirety with this resolution, which shall be informally titled and referred to as the Election Code or other applicable law. Section 4, that a copy of this resolution and the electioneering map attached hereto shall include the name of the election judge once appointed and be made available to the public in the office of the city secretary. In addition, a copy of the electioneering map shall be posted at each public entrance of the City Hall polling location during the voting period. Section 5, that a copy of this resolution and the electioneering regulations attached hereto shall be made available to the public in the office of the city secretary. Section 6, that this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage, and it is so resolved. Okay. And there's an Exhibit B, there's several pages that we don't have to read, but we will talk about. Right? Yeah.
Do you want the map that you sent me, do you want me to load that?
Yes, only because that's referenced in the conversation.
Oh, need help? Somebody will help you, Christine. He's coming. While we're talking about that, let me ask the city attorney something. So we did talk about this in work session, and one of the things that we talked about was we had a definition of electioneering in Exhibit B. That's a little different than the definition.
And she should be able to put that up on the screen.
Okay.
Mayor, I will read to you that, and this is with the city attorney, a review since our work session.
Yeah.
He has
Well,
reviewed our
here's,
changes.
let me get to the end of that question real quick. In this resolution, we have a whereas term, electioneering includes. So does this need to be the same as what she's right here in the resolution as it is in Exhibit B?
It does not have to be the identical language, but it's includes is an open-ended,
Okay.
includes this,
Okay, so
these actions.
we're adding
We're
another
more
stipulation.
specific in the
Okay,
exhibit.
gotcha. That's good. I
Everything
just wanted-
before the now, therefore be it resolved is telling a story, but it's not binding. That's how I would describe it.
What are you
No, that's
Wouldn't
good.
you agree? Oh, wouldn't you agree? That would be,
Doesn't really make.
Generally, yes.
Okay, let me put it this way. I've learned, anything that can lead confusion causes problems.
yes, sir. That's true.
It usually depends on two questions, who's asking and who's paying.
Bingo.
That's all we care about.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. So per our discussion in the work session and defining some of the terms in Exhibit B, electioneering is going to be defined as, electioneering shall mean the posting, use, or distribution of political signs, clothing, hats, badges, buttons, or literature, provided that the wearing of hats, badges, buttons, or other campaign-related clothing items is not prohibited outside the 100-foot boundary, so long as the person is not engaged in electioneering outside of the designated electioneering location. So for clarification, you can wear your clothing, however, you cannot actively engage in the distribution of literature, signs, clothing, hats, badges, or buttons.
Okay, while we're right there, can you put the other picture up that shows the electioneering areas? Because I want to be sure whoever's listening and watching this is understanding what we're talking about. Do we have that slide? It was in the work
If you want.
session.
Here. You want this? I'll put this up there.
Need me to get it for you? You got it?
Okay, could you slide that to the center a little bit more of the picture? There you go. Okay. Now, can you zoom in a little more? There you go. Well, I mean, he'll have to zoom in.
Run it as a presentation, Mark.
Can I pull it up?
Oh, yeah.
It's in the presentation.
Is that italic?
That's right.
Look, he didn't have a bald spot on the back of his head.
Poor Mark.
Now, if that was me, it
We're
would be
just
a shining light.
admiring your calic in the back of your head.
Back of your head.
You had your head on. No, you're good, you're good.
So we can only politic on his part of his head.
Yeah. Now, can you zoom in a little bit more with the optics? Not you, Mark. Sorry. Okay, all I wanted to say is for the people that may be looking at this, we're looking at a down on City Hall, the plaza at the red square, and the vacant area to the south of City Hall is the green. And the two circles are the electioneering 100-foot radius where you cannot, state law says you cannot electioneer within that 100 feet. Those are at the front door and back door of City Hall. And so we were talking about electioneering, and so in the green area, I'll say in the 1 acre to the south of City Hall is where you can do electioneering and place signs. And there will be further restrictions on sign we'll talk about. But on the plaza, whereas the red, there is no electioneering there, although what you just clarified in the definition was you can wear a T-shirt or a shirt with a candidate name or whatever else, or a hat or a button. It's okay to do that in there, but you can't put signs, you can't hand out, that you can't otherwise electioneer. Is that all correct?
That is
Okay, I just wanted people to understand that distinction. Okay.
And so then also from our discussion, can We had a discussion about the signs, size and number of signs. And so we,
Can you pull that mic back around closer? Yeah, thank you.
So we have agreed through the work session process that item number 2 will now state no more than 4 political signs for each candidate or measure, which shall have a sign face no larger than 32 square feet and be no taller than 8 feet in height from ground level, shall be permitted in the designated electioneering location. Said signs may be attached to a canopy or tent or secured with weights, but may not be staked in the ground with anything exceeding 9-gauge wire.
Got it?
Item 3, also dealing with political signs in the designated electioneering location, shall have no more than 2 sign faces per sign, and in addition to the 4 larger signs allowed in paragraph 2 above, which I just read. The total number of political signs may not exceed 20 in number throughout the entire electioneering location, including the public parking lots and areas highlighted in yellow in Exhibit A. How do I make this?
Yeah, now show that.
Mark, would you?
Okay.
So while this area here would be the election area, electioneering area, your 20 signs have to count if you so choose to put them in these landscaped areas and/or in the medians in the parking lot. So 20 total signs plus the 4
Right. Okay.
in this area.
Yeah, and so that is larger than the electioneering area, so some signs can be outside the electioneering area.
But
But
we
not
count
in
toward the
areas,
20.
not in areas outside of that yellow.
That's correct.
Okay.
Can you clarify the 20? Is it 20 plus 4 or 20 including?
20 plus 4.
Okay,
The difference between them would be the sizing.
okay.
The 20 are the traditional, what you'd consider 2x2s.
Correct. And when it states item 2 above, that was the designation of the 4 no larger than the 32
Okay.
square feet. And finally, we also had a discussion regarding the number and distance of location between canopies and tents, and we have clarified this to read. Canopies or tents may not exceed 10 feet by 12 feet in size. Each candidate or measure is limited to 2 canopies or tents within the electioneering location and shall be spaced a minimum of 50 feet apart. So it limits to 2 per candidate, cause, or measure, and it must have 50 feet of space between each canopy or tent.
But to clarify, 2 tents can be next to each other, they just can't be representing the same candidate or cause.
They can be 50 foot from one another.
No, but you, what I'm saying is, I just want to clarify that there could be 2 tents next to each other, but they're not representing the same candidate
Candidate.
That's correct.
and/or cause.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's not 50-foot gaps, there's 50-foot gaps between tents that are representing the same
Yeah.
candidate.
Right. Okay, I think that adequately describes what all we discussed in the work session, and we didn't quite get to, we ran out of time, the enforcement paragraph. I was going to bring up a question. The Colleyville Code Enforcement Department and election judge shall responsibly provide for the enforcement of these regulations. So, me and city manager were having a discussion earlier today on what does enforcement mean. Don't know, I mean, we can pick up signs that are in places we deem not consistent with this, but beyond that, what do you do? It's a question, is there anything we can, how does this get enforced?
There's not a lot of enforcement mechanism because it's not a formal ordinance, other than obviously the code enforcement officer and/or the election judge, to the extent they have the authority, can go onto the various areas where electioneering is allowed and notify them of the rules. If they do violate the rules, we would have the ability to remove the violating signs or activities, but we don't have an ability to issue criminal citations or criminal charges.
So let's say, I'm just trying to dream up an example. So let's say somebody's in the plaza and they're handing out literature, pamphlets, which according to this, they shouldn't, they could have it on them, but they can't hand them out. And one, it says here, Code Enforcement Department or election judge can tell them not to.
Sorry,
So
code
what?
enforcement.
Right. And that,
Can a police officer walk up to them and say you can't do it?
if notified by the code enforcement or the election judge or city secretary that there's a violation, they could, but again, they wouldn't be able to imply or indicate that there was some sort of criminal violation, because again, this is not an adopted ordinance.
Well, what is I mean, is there anything
need
other than
an
criminal
need one?
violations?
Well,
Do we need it?
what we do have,
Ordinance.
to kind of broaden the scope here of the discussion, we do have a number of these regulations that we have in this resolution are in the LDC regarding political signs. So those are enforceable regulations. However, the canopies and tents are not. Those are specific to the city hall polling place. Eventually, yes, I do believe that the intent is to codify once I know over the last few years, we've been changing the landscape of the public property. And so, as well as the election code has been changing as far as what rules we can and cannot allow with political signs. And so, I think the reason we don't have it codified and probably aren't ready at this very moment to codify it is because we're waiting for, to run through these regulations to see what issues we still want to catch. And then, once we know how we like it operating, we're going to go ahead and formalize these into the political signs and electioneering ordinance.
Yeah, and so, one thing that's different, so we've built a plaza, we've changed the geography up quite dramatically, so we've actually put a lot of thought and discussion, and I'm talking to the audience, in on this. It's a tricky thing to do. We're trying to be equitable and fair to everybody. At the same time, whatever you do, you need to be able to enforce it. So we're getting ready to have a federal primary elections coming up here in March. So that'll be our first learning experience. And so my theory is we'll go through that primary and see how it works. And if things do work, great. If something doesn't work, we can always walk back in here and do some modifications to try to tweak it to make it better.
Mayor, I do believe that this will allow us an opportunity to be proactive with those who will be on city facilities campaigning. And I believe that just by virtue of having it in place, that we can expect a certain amount of understanding and adherence to that resolution.
Very good. Any other questions or thoughts before we go to the public hearing? Okay, thank you. Public hearing is open. Kathy Hadley, have a card.
Kathy Hadley, 204 Timberline Drive North, to represent myself. And Christine really went to a lot of work to get this done. She's done a nice job. I appreciate it. Wow. Control. I just want to share with y'all with one of the last voting episodes. My car was parked in the back, and I was, me, I get really involved. I'm putting out signs, I'm knocking on doors. I'm very involved. And I had my shirt on, and I was walking to my car. I was leaving, and I was talking as I was leaving. A woman's getting out of her car, and I said, I sure hope you're here to vote, and I highly recommend you vote for her. And I went to my spiel, and she let me have it. Oh, my gosh. I was out of the area. I should not have been speaking political stuff to her. I wasn't holding a gun to her or anything. I was just saying, I'm glad you're here to vote. I hope you'll vote for her. And I got in so much trouble by this woman. And she said, you're not supposed to be back here being a political person. I said, thank God, I had my car keys in my hand. I said, I am on my way to my car. And my car was right next to hers. So I just got and looked at her, and I got in my car, and I left. By golly, rules, 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 rules. And you know what? We are rule followers. We're conservatives. We believe in rules. I'm real concerned that this is kind of going to the extreme as far as signs. I mean, I go to 26 and I'm talking to all the places I visit, and I'm putting signs out on the road. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing that. You know, what's happening is you're going to have less people be actively involved for fear of breaking a rule. And I don't understand 50 feet apart. This is such a social-friendly time to visit with your neighbors and just get out, and it's okay to have opposing views. But you have to be 50 feet apart? It's like, I don't know. Things are just changing, and maybe it's just a sign of the times. It hasn't always been like this, and it's just getting worse. You know what? I feel sorry for the poor person who can't be there at 12:01 to be able to put their tent in a good spot. So they're not, one has to be 50 feet away, clear at the other end, where they're up a creek. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, come on.
Yeah, you're making some good points. So one thing we didn't say, so you remember on election day, elections have been over at the school. And you see, you know, there's millions of signs, and you're correct, even out here at early voting, there's always kind of this fight to see who can get the best spots. And so the distance is an attempt to help that. So the idea is, and it's not every tent has to be 50 feet away, it's the same candidate can have, and I'm going to use, if Jerry was running for something, he could have a tent. If I was running for something, I could have one, and I'm going to convince him to do it. No. I could have a tent right next to his, but I couldn't have another tent within 50 feet. To keep me from filling up all the space so somebody else couldn't come in that maybe opposed me. So that's the rationale, that's the thought process. Now, we'll see if it works. Don't know if it'll work. And we're also allowing 24 hours before an election versus 12:01 in the morning, so it's a little more reasonable when people can start putting things up. So that's the thought process. Oh, by the way, on talking, that 100-foot electioneering area from distant from the door, that's a state law. You can't do anything in that.
I'm a
But
rule breaker.
outside the 100-foot, you can talk, you can discuss, you can suggest people they vote for whoever. That's perfectly fine, even with all these regulations that you see in place. That's always okay.
Okay, well.
So I just want to clear that up.
I'm sorry, I broke a law.
No.
And I have a habit of wearing my shirt for the person I'm supporting, and I'm running around like crazy getting things done, and I might step across a boundary, unintentionally do that.
But you can be asked nicely, right?
So,
Which is very common.
Yeah.
so that's my concern.
Yeah, I understand.
And also, those 20 signs are just in that yellow area. That's the only reason we're regulating that. Anything outside of that, it's game on. You keep doing what you're doing, Miss Kathy, outside of those yellow lines.
Okay, so people aren't gonna have to be afraid of getting a tongue lashing or reprimanded for having a sign in the wrong area?
What would happen
It's
is, the code enforcement, if a sign's placed improperly, code enforcement will pick it up. We'll put it in a place at Public Works where everybody can come get them. Sign won't be damaged, won't be disposed of, and the group can come and pick them up and then place them legally somewhere else. So nobody has to worry that their signs will be destroyed. They may be picked up, especially on vacant lots where the owner is unknown. But they'll, and of course, if they're in the right-of-way, public property, other than what's allowed by the electioneering resolution. We'd pick them up, we'd have them available, they can pick them back up and reuse them. So there's no fear of damage or being thrown away or anything like that.
So are we allowed to put signs in grocery store parking lots?
Not without the property owner's
Well,
permission.
and I always get their approval.
Yes, with the
Sure you
permission,
can.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
none of those rules have changed.
Yes.
Okay, because this is an exciting time, you know, for everybody. And I think it can bring the city together or tear us apart. We don't need to be torn apart.
Agreed.
I agree.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, that's all the cards I have. Anyone else wish to speak that's in the audience? See no one indicating that, so I want to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Motion is in order.
I move adoption of Resolution R-20-4464 with the changes that have been read.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dodson to approve, including all the changes that the city secretary described and went over with us, and a second by Councilmember Nakamura. Okay, vote is open. You may show the vote. Motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved with changes. Move to agenda item number 8, citizen comments. Kathy Hadley, do you want to comment?
Kathy Headley, 24 Timberline Drive North, to represent myself. There were several things I was going to talk to you about, but then after coming to the pre-council meeting, okay, I gotta speak on this. In 1992, and this is kind of lengthy, so I'll talk real fast. 1992, I had a very serious horseback riding accident. I was knocked out for a month in the hospital for a total of 5, relearning how to walk and talk and everything because I was on my deathbed. Anyway, I had excruciating headaches in 2003 from a severe car wreck in Louisiana. My high-powered attorney uncle in Louisiana, had these killer headaches. In fact, Scott took me to the emergency room. The emergency room doctor said, "Oh, this is the worst kind of headache. It's your nerves are very, very angry." And I was in just agony. It was I didn't know if I could make it. Well, so my attorney uncle heard about CBD. He sent some to his sister, my mother, and for me to try. I thought, I wasn't into trying all these pharmaceuticals because they actually have bad side effects. Pharmaceuticals are bad. Pharmaceutical company don't want you to believe that, but I'm living proof. I had to be rushed to the emergency room because I quit breathing on one of the pain medications. I'm like, I'm not doing these anymore. So anyway, my uncle learned about CBD, sent some to my mom, and told her to have me try it. So I did, and I took it. I think it was in a pill form, and I took it and went down, took a little nap, woke up. Mom's like, "Kathy, how's your head?" I went, "I don't have a headache." I had excruciating headaches every day. So anyway, after time, the headache came back, and I ended up having to take one again. And, I'm not a regular pill taker. But whenever I did take it, it went away. It was giving me so much relief. I shared that information with my neurologist, very, very good neurologist. And I said, "No, I don't know how you're going to feel about this CBD I'm taking." And he goes, "Kathy," because he knows what kind of pain I've had with my headaches. He goes, "Kathy, if it gives you relief, I don't have a problem with it." So he allowed me to continue taking it as need be, which I'm not a big pill taker, but when I'm having a killer headache, I take it to get relief. He has shared with me that he has now had other patients that have come to him and said the same thing, what relief they have gotten from CBD. It's a natural product. I was never a pot smoker with the hemp, okay? Yes, CBD does come from hemp. They take the bad stuff out. I don't even know what it's called, but they take the bad stuff out and you take it. I even put it under my tongue or put a little bit in some juice and drink it so it gets into my system faster when I have these awful headaches. And it works. It's natural. I don't have to worry about heart problems or going to have my urine tested, my blood tested because of the pharmaceutical stuff. It's natural. And it doesn't make you high or anything like that. And that stuff has been taken out of it. Plus, I have been going to, and I would like the business to be here in Colleyville because I have been going to the store in Hearst to get some. And it's like $50 for a little bottle of it. And I'd rather Colleyville benefit from it. And I want the Colleyville citizens to benefit from it. It's not a drug. And you're a druggie taking hemp, whatever. Yes, it is hemp. It's natural. God put natural stuff on the planet for us. And the addictive part has been taken out, so it's safe to take. If you have problems with pain, they have it in a salve form. You put it in the areas where you have a problem. I rub salve on my temples and on sore spots on my head and on the base of my neck. It's from my brainstem injury, and it helps. It has given me my life back. So please think about supporting CBD. I think somebody does come to the, Bobby brought it up. They have it at the, what's it called? Farmer's market thing.
Yeah.
But, let's have a store here in Colleyville where, they're getting my money and others' money to help people. It's not an evil thing. It's CBD. It's actually a plant made by God for us to benefit from. And the part that is bad, they have taken out. The part that people take abuse of, so they abuse. I would like to see a CBD store here, so my money is kept in Colleyville. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak at citizen comments? See no one indicating that, so we'll move to agenda item 9, which are reports, P&Z minutes, and work session reports. Any comments or questions on those? Not, we have no need of agenda item 10, and I'm going to adjourn unless someone objects. Any objections? Adjourn, thank you. 9:15. Who had 9:15? I did.
Oh, I see how this works.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was timing it the whole night.
I mean, I'm not gonna complain. I'm out.
Yeah, not that I'm complaining.
Did you see Bobby's medians?
No.
Look, he said these are good. They got water features, he's got all different ideas, traffic signs. That's the water feature.
That's a water.
Oh.
Those are cool.
That's double charge. I'll collect
That's
it.
country. Those are hilarious. Those are absolutely hilarious. I love the water feature one, the favorite. That one you can turn it on or off as you need it, so. That's hilarious.
Well, we hired him,
Yeah, we hired him
and
and he
him,
hired us.
and then he hired everybody.
Oh, okay.
Hold on a minute. Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Jerry Duque. Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Need your
It's nice to
vote.
meet you. Yeah, I guess I
He's a
vote.
big
I live off
supporter.
Chicksburger.
Whatever.
No, Winfield.
All right, thank you much.
Social media.
So
you
just, are you west of Jackson?
Might trade my plane.
You go that far west?
good trip.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help this week.
So you're east of Jackson? Yeah, yep. Okay, and I'm just past Jackson. Sorry, I'm just like one block past. Okay. Sorry, I just missed you.
Yeah, because cold and rainy tomorrow.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, missed you by a block, I'm sorry. Yes.
Setback on that one. Yeah. I want to be sure, so I'm like, going to look off.
What's the last name?
Just on the zoning, on the setbacks.
We just met a bunch of people over there about the house that